Have you ever noticed how there is a specific type of person who seems to have an internal radar capable of deciphering anyone who crosses their path? They don't need to talk much. They don't ask invasive questions. They don't force intimacy. But somehow they manage to read you as if they could access your deepest thoughts. These people possess something that most completely neglect: the ability to observe a lot while speaking little. And I'm not talking about introversion or shyness. I'm talking about a deliberate method, a silent strategy that transforms observation into personal power. Think of Batman, one of the most fascinating characters in pop culture. He is not just a masked vigilante fighting crime in the shadows of Gotham City. Batman is essentially an obsessive observer, a strategist who studies every move, every pattern, every vulnerability of his adversaries before acting. He doesn't enter conflicts shouting or displaying brute force without purpose. He waits, analyzes, absorbs information, and then acts with surgical precision. This is the essence of Batman's Stoic method for understanding people. Speak little, observe a lot, and use silence as a tool for emotional intelligence. The problem is that we live in an era where everyone wants to talk, where people measure their worth by the amount of words they can spill onto others, where the anxiety to fill every second of silence has become almost pathological. But here's the truth that few understand. The more you talk, the less you learn. The more you expose yourself unnecessarily, the more you reveal your cards without realizing it. And the more you try to impress through the volume of information, the less real impact you have. Strategic silence, on the other hand, generates mystery, authority, and respect. When you master the art of observing a lot and speaking little, you completely invert the social dynamic. People begin to take an interest in you simply because you are not desperate to be noticed. You become someone worth deciphering, someone whose words carry weight precisely because they are rare and intentional. This is not manipulation, it is applied wisdom. It is understanding that true power lies not in dominating conversations, but in mastering yourself within them. Stoic philosophers understood this over 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and deep thinker, wrote in his meditations that observing without reacting is the greatest sign of inner strength. He said that a disciplined mind does not get swept away by external waves, but remains like a firm rock while the sea crashes against it. Seneca, another giant of Stoicism, warned that excessive words are a sign of internal lack of control, a desperate attempt to fill the void that exists within us. And Epictetus taught that true wisdom begins when you learn to separate what is under your control from what is not, and that observing people without hasty judgment is essential for that separation. Batman embodies these Stoic principles almost perfectly. He does not act on emotional impulse. Even when dealing with villains who have killed people he loved, he maintains control, observes patterns, understands motivations, and uses that information to disarm threats before they materialize. This ability to observe a lot and speak little is not just a crime-fighting technique. It is a philosophy of life that can be applied in any context: relationships, business, friendships, family conflicts. When you stop trying to prove something all the time and start genuinely paying attention to what is happening around you, you access a level of understanding that most people never reach. You begin to notice micro-expressions that reveal hidden emotions. You notice inconsistencies between what people say and what they really feel. You identify behavioral patterns that anticipate future actions. And all of this happens not because you have some supernatural gift, but simply because you are present, attentive, and silent enough to pick up the signals that are always there, waiting to be read. Now, let me be clear about one thing. Observing a lot and speaking little does not mean being passive or disinterested. I am not suggesting that you become a personality-less wall or pretend indifference as a cheap manipulation strategy. Batman's Stoic method for understanding people is active, not passive. It requires mental energy, intense focus, and constant discipline. When you observe with intention, you are actively working to understand the true nature of the people around you. You are seeking to understand not just what they say, but why they say it, what emotional needs they are trying to satisfy, what fears they are trying to hide. What desires are guiding their actions? This type of observation transforms you into someone dangerously perceptive, someone whom people cannot easily deceive because you see beyond the social masks we all wear. And when you combine this ability for deep observation with stoic control over your own emotional reactions, you become practically invincible in any social situation. People try to provoke you and you remain calm. They try to manipulate you emotionally and you identify the game before it begins. They try to hide their true intentions and you have already deciphered their patterns before they even realize they are being transparent. This is not cynicism. It is clarity. It is seeing the world as it really is, not as we would like it to be. And this clarity is liberating because it eliminates the need to live in comfortable illusions. You stop being negatively surprised by people because you have learned to observe the signals they always show, even when they think they are perfectly hiding their true natures. Batman is effective because he accepts the reality of Gotham City without romanticizing it. He knows that the city is full of corruption, evil, and chaos, but instead of despairing over it, he uses that knowledge to prepare better, to act with more precision, to protect those who deserve protection. Similarly, when you observe people without excessive moral judgment, simply registering patterns and understanding motivations, you gain an immense strategic advantage. You do not waste time trying to change those who do not want to change. You do not waste emotional energy on those who do not deserve your investment. You simply observe, understand, and act according to the reality before you. Now let's dive deeper into Batman's Stoic method and understand how you can apply this philosophy of observing a lot and speaking little in practical situations in your life. The first thing you need to accept is that most people are so absorbed in their own internal narratives that they barely notice the world around them. They enter conversations already prepared to talk, not to listen. They have already decided what they are going to say before even understanding what is being communicated. And it is precisely this universal human tendency that creates the perfect opportunity for those who master silent observation. When you enter any social environment, whether it's a work meeting, a romantic date, a party with friends, or even a family conflict, your first mission should not be to make yourself noticed through words. Your first mission should be to map the emotional territory around you. Who are the dominant people in the room? Who is uncomfortable? Who is trying to impress someone specific? What are the power dynamics that are silently operating beneath the surface of polite conversations? Batman does this instinctively whenever he enters any situation. He analyzes exits, identifies potential threats, assesses who is armed, who is nervous, who is lying. You can do exactly the same thing in normal social contexts, just adapting the focus. Instead of looking for physical weapons, you look for emotional weapons, subtle manipulations, attempts at control, insecurities disguised as arrogance. And the more you practice this conscious observation, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you develop a kind of social sixth sense that works automatically, alerting you to problematic dynamics before they explode in your face. The second part of Batman's Stoic method is to control your emotional reactions while observing. This is crucial because observation without emotional control is useless. If you realize that someone is trying to manipulate you and immediately react with anger or confrontation, you have lost the advantage that observation gave you. Batman is a master at this. Even when facing the Joker, a psychopath who has killed people close to him and who constantly tries to provoke him emotionally, Batman maintains control. He feels the anger, acknowledges the pain, but does not allow those emotions to dictate his actions. This is the essence of Stoic discipline, to feel without being dominated by feeling. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily through his meditations. He constantly reminded himself that it is not external events that disturb us, but our interpretations of those events. So when you observe someone trying to provoke you, manipulate you, or belittle you, you can consciously choose not to react in the way that person expects. You can simply register behavior, understand the motivation behind it, and respond in a way that preserves your personal power. This completely frustrates those who are trying to play emotional games with you because they lose control over your reactions. And when you do not react predictably, you become unpredictable, which automatically increases your social status and your power in the interaction. Now, let me talk about the most powerful aspect of speaking little. When you finally decide to speak, your words carry disproportionate weight. Think about it. If you are someone who talks all the time, your words become background noise. People stop paying real attention because they know you never stop producing sound. But when you are known for observing a lot and speaking little, every word you choose to utter becomes an event. People literally lean forward to hear what you have to say because they know that if you are speaking, it is probably something important. Batman uses this perfectly. He does not make long speeches. When he speaks, it is direct, precise, and loaded with intention. Every word counts, and this immensely amplifies the impact of his communication. You can apply exactly the same principle. Instead of trying to participate in every conversation, contribute every opinion, fill every silence with your own stories, try a different approach. Observe the conversation unfold. Identify the crucial moment where your intervention would have the most impact, and then calmly and clearly say exactly what needs to be said. Nothing more, nothing less. The effect will be dramatic. People will remember what you said because you did not dilute your message with excessive words. You will gain a reputation as someone insightful, intelligent, and trustworthy, precisely because your contributions are rare and always relevant. The Stoics also understood the power of word economy. Seneca wrote extensively about how excessive talking is a symptom of an undisciplined mind. He argued that those who talk nonstop are trying to fill an internal void, seeking constant external validation, demonstrating a lack of self-control. On the other hand, those who master silence demonstrate inner strength, genuine self-confidence, and emotional independence. These qualities are magnetically attractive. People naturally gravitate towards those who demonstrate this type of control because it is so rare in our current culture of hyperconnection and constant exposure. When you master the art of observing a lot and speaking little, you also protect your own vulnerabilities. Every time you speak, you reveal information about yourself, your insecurities, your desires, your fears, your weaknesses. Manipulative people are experts at using this information against you. Batman understands this perfectly. He keeps his secret identity not only to protect those he loves, but because he knows that information is power, and the less his enemies know about him, the harder it is to effectively attack him. You can apply this wisdom without necessarily maintaining a secret identity. Simply be more selective about what you share and with whom you share it. Do not feel the need to expose your entire life, all your thoughts, all your experiences for social validation. Keep certain things private. This not only protects you, but also increases your mystery and perceived value. People value more what they cannot easily have, and that includes information about you. Now let's explore the specific situations where Batman's stoic method of observing a lot and speaking little becomes especially powerful. First, consider the context of romantic relationships. Most people, especially in the early stages of attraction, make the mistake of talking too much. They want to impress, they want to make themselves known, they want to fill every silence with stories about themselves. But this often produces the opposite effect of what is desired. Instead of creating attraction, it creates boredom or even repulsion because it demonstrates anxiety and a need for approval. When you apply the method of observing a lot and speaking little in romantic contexts, you immediately set yourself apart. You ask genuine questions and truly listen to the answers. You notice details about the person that they themselves did not realize they revealed. You demonstrate interest without desperation, presence without suffocation. And here's the secret. While you are observing, you are also assessing whether this person truly deserves your emotional investment. You are not just trying to be chosen, you are also choosing. This shift in mindset is liberating and deeply attractive. People feel when someone has standards and is not willing to lower them out of fear of being alone. That quiet confidence is irresistible because it is authentic. Batman does not chase anyone. He has his mission, his principles, his boundaries. People either align with that or they do not, but he does not change who he is to please. This same attitude applied to relationships eliminates manipulative games and attracts people who genuinely resonate with who you really are. In the professional and business context, observing a lot and speaking little is equally transformative. Corporate meetings are filled with people trying to stand out by speaking loudly, interrupting others, forcing their opinions. But truly effective leaders, those who earn lasting respect, are often the ones who speak less and observe more. They let others exhaust their energies in unproductive discussions while absorbing crucial information. Who has hidden agendas? Who is trying to sabotage projects? Who really understands the subject and who is just pretending? When they finally decide to speak, their contributions cut straight to the point, solve real problems, and demonstrate a deep understanding of the situation. This builds a reputation for competence and leadership much more effectively than any amount of verbal self-promotion could achieve. Batman leads the Justice League not because he speaks louder than Superman or Wonder Woman, but because his observations are precise, his strategies are solid, and his words are trustworthy. When Batman says something, the other heroes pay attention because they know he does not waste words. You can cultivate this same reputation in your professional environment simply by being more intentional about when and how you contribute verbally. In conflicts and tense situations, the Stoic method of observing a lot and speaking little can literally save relationships and prevent unnecessary escalations. When someone is trying to provoke you emotionally, whether in a family discussion, a disagreement with friends, or a traffic conflict, your first instinctive reaction is likely to retaliate verbally. But this instinctive reaction almost always worsens the situation. The Stoics taught that between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom to choose how to react. When you practice observing first before speaking, you consciously create that space. You realize that the person is acting out of pain, fear, or insecurity. You understand that the attack is not really about you, but about their emotional state. And with that understanding, you can choose to respond in a way that disarms the conflict instead of fueling it. Batman does this constantly. When villains try to provoke him with insults or threats, he does not take the bait. He observes, assesses whether there is useful information in what is being said, and responds only when it is strategically advantageous. This emotional discipline not only preserves his inner peace but often transforms you into the most powerful person in any conflict because you are not being controlled by your emotions while everyone around you is losing control of theirs. Finally, let's talk about how to develop this skill of observing a lot and speaking little as a permanent habit. Like any skill, this requires deliberate and consistent practice. Start with small challenges. In the next conversation you have, try to speak half of what you normally would. Force yourself to ask more questions and truly absorb the answers instead of planning what you will say next. Observe people's body language while they speak. Notice when their eyes light up with genuine enthusiasm and when they dim with polite disinterest. Pay attention to how the tone of voice changes depending on the subject. All these little signals tell stories that words alone never reveal. The more you practice this conscious observation, the more natural it becomes until eventually you no longer need to think actively about it. It becomes part of who you are. The Stoics practice this through daily reflection exercises. Marcus Aurelius spent time every night reviewing the day's interactions, analyzing where he reacted well and where he could have demonstrated more control. You can do something similar. After important social interactions, take a few minutes to reflect. Where did you talk too much? Where did you miss opportunities to observe important signals? Where did your emotions control your words instead of the other way around? This reflective practice tremendously accelerates your development because it transforms random experiences into intentional learning. Batman did not become the world's most formidable detective by accident. He trained obsessively, constantly reflected on his actions, and improved incrementally through disciplined practice. You can apply exactly the same approach to master the art of observing a lot and speaking little. And when you master this art, you not only understand people around you better, you understand better yourself. Because in the silence of observation, free from the constant need to express yourself, you finally manage to hear your own inner voice clearly. And it is this inner clarity combined with a deep understanding of the external world, that transforms you into someone truly powerful, someone who does not need to shout to be heard, someone who does not need to constantly prove themselves because their silent presence already says everything that needs to be said.